بسم الله الرحمن الرحيم الحمد لله رب العالمين صلى الله وسلم وبارك على عبده ورسوله نبينا وإمامنا محمد وعلى آله وصحبه وسلم تسليما كثيرا أما بعد السلام عليكم ورحمة الله تعالى وبركاته. Happy Eid to everybody. Eidukum Mubarak. Taqabbalallahu minna wa minkum salih al-a'mal. Ameen. May Allah accept it from all of us every year. May Allah Azza wa Jal make you happy. And may He make you of those who see the Eid, who benefit from the Eid. Ameen. Inshallah, everybody's Eid tomorrow will be a good one. The brothers and the sisters who are going to slaughter, offer the sacrifice. May Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala make it one that is blessed, one that is valid, and one that will be a means of thankfulness and gratefulness to Allah the Mighty and the Most High. Ameen. So inshallah ta'ala tonight, what I want to do, bi'idhnillahi ta'ala, nothing too serious, nothing too heavy. Perhaps we'll read a few more fatwa. Sheikh Muhammad ibn Ismail al-Imrani, rahimahullah, with regards to the udhiyah. Even though we've explained the udhiyah and what to do, so on and so forth in detail, either we'll mention some of those fatwa, or we'll go into, bi'idhnillahi ta'ala, some fatwa with regards to Salatul Eid. Are there any questions before I read and I share with you whatever we're going to read and share with you?
Yes.
Idris, Fadl Akhi.
Quick question. Are non-Muslims allowed to eat the meat?
Are non-Muslims allowed to eat the meat? Yes and no, or no and yes. It's permissible to give sadaqa to someone of a different faith, of a different religion, especially if that's going to be a means of bringing them to Islam. The Prophet ﷺ tells us, وَفِي كُلِّ كَبْدٍ رَطْبٍ أَجْرٌ أو صَدَقَةٌ, is that every living creature that has a spleen or liver, you feed in that living creature as a means of charity. And there are other hadiths in which the Prophet ﷺ is quoted to have said, وَلَا يَأْكُلْ طَعَامَكَ إِلَّا تَقِي, and no one should eat your food except that they are righteous. And what's meant by the hadith is that the person who's close to you, intimate with you, who hangs out with you, doesn't mean that you can't give a non-Muslim charity, but you give them charity with the intention of da'wah and with the intention of a bigger, greater purpose, and not just how you would just, with anybody else who's a Muslim. And of course, the no part as well is to make sure that the Muslims have enough. To make sure that the Muslims have more than enough, if and when you come across a non-Muslim who's needy, or if you, as a gift, someone who isn't needy, that's fine. It's not impermissible. Wallahu a'lam. You have anything from online, Khalid? طيب. Fadl, Faz.
Someone who has the means to do the udhiyah and they don't do it, will they be sinful?
If someone has the means to do the udhiyah and they choose not to do the udhiyah, will they be sinful? According to most of the scholars, no. At worst, they left off something which was recommended, highly recommended. And then some ulama, as we've explained, who hold the view that the udhiyah is either mandatory, period, or it's mandatory upon those who have the extra money, those who have the extra wealth. So one view stating that everyone has to do udhiyah, and they're only excused if they don't have it whatsoever. And that other view states that it's not obligatory upon the average person, but it's obligatory upon those who have the wealth. As the hadith says, man wajada sa'atan, he who has sa'a, expansiveness in his wealth. And most of the ulama hold the view that it's highly recommended, sunnah mu'akkada, and Allah knows best. Question says, هل تجب الأضحية على المرأة إذا كانت الأسرة لا يوجد فيها رجال? Does a woman have to slaughter if she is in a family, or she's running or maintaining a family in which there are no men? Does a woman have to slaughter if she's in a family in which there are no men? The answer says, إذا كانت المرأة مستطيعة ولا يوجد رجال فيشرع لها أن تضحي لأن النساء شقائق الرجال، هذا إذا كانت تملك أضحية أو هي قادرة على شراء أضحية. Answer states is that if a woman has the ability to slaughter, and there's no man to do it, then she can do it. It's from the deen, it's from the sunnah, it's from the sharia for her to do it. Because women are the partners of men. She has the money, she has the ability, or to buy it or purchase it or do it herself. Now we know that, and that fatwa Sheikh Muhammad ibn Ismail al-Umrani rahimahullah, we know that there's a chapter in Sahih Bukhari and others with regards to a woman slaughtering. And there's nothing wrong with a woman slaughtering as long as she is qadira ala dhabh. She has the strength and the composure to do it. All men don't have the strength and the composure to do it. We've seen that. Some brothers, they'll play basketball, do this, animal, they can't do it. So if she has the strength, and if she has the composure, the sabr to do it, there's no prohibition of her doing it. Nor is there any type of extra set of rules with regards to wudu or tahara or menstruation, married, mahram, wali, etc. for her to perform the udhiyah. And Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala surely knows best. And of course this issue is even more practical to countless households in and outside of the United States in which there aren't any men. Whether it's because of crack cocaine, incarceration, divorce, a deadbeat father, a woman, a mother who's tripping, bugging out, or whether it's because of a war, a civil war in Syria. How many households now don't have men? And other countries around the world, not just in Syria. Other Muslim lands in which the men have been killed. The men they fell on the battlefield, etc. And a woman is now responsible for the household. So it's not just an issue of inner urban city, right? Nor is it just an issue of overseas, Middle East, Palestine, etc. There's an unfortunate dynamic of many Muslim homes today in which the man of the house is actually a woman. So does she take on the role of the man with regards to making the udhiyah or not? And Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala surely knows best. Next question states, فضيلة الشيخ هناك رجل يستطيع أن يضحي ولكن لم يضحي فهل هو آثم؟ الجواب هو آثم على مذهب من يقول إن الأضحية واجبة على المستطيع، أما على مذهب الجمهور الذين يقولون إنها سنة فليس بآثم. Question says, there's a man who did not make udhiyah. Is he sinful? The answer says, he's sinful based off upon the madhab of those who say that it is mandatory, wajibah. As far as those, the majority of the fuqaha who hold the view that it is only recommended, highly recommended, he isn't sinful. Next question says, ماذا ترجحون وجوب الأضحية على القادر أم سنيتها أو سنيتها الراجح عند الوجوب على من كان مستطيعا. Next question asks, what is your view, O Sheikh, your madhab? What is the qawl rajih, the strongest view in your opinion with regards to it being mandatory or recommended? The Shaykh rahimahullah, he said, to me, the strongest view is it is obligatory upon those who can do it. Next question says, لمن تشرع الأضحية وما حكمها؟ هل على كل فرد أضحية أم تكفي الأسرة الواحدة أضحية? Answer says, who has to slaughter? And what is the ruling of slaughtering? And is it for every member of the household, or is one animal sufficient for one family? الجواب تشرع الأضحية على كل بيت وأقلها شاة لأن الشاة تكفي عن أسرة والبقرة تكفي ل7 بيوت والجمل أو الناقة تكفي ل10 بيوت أو 10 أسر والأدلة قد دلت على ذلك لأن النبي صلى الله عليه وسلم كان يضحي عن أسرته بشاة وقال الأضحية شاة وأوسطها بقرة وعلاها جمل أو ناقة. As it says, is that the udhiyah should be for every household. It should be for every household. And the minimum, the least, the smallest amount is one sheep, one shah, one sheep, one lamb, one goat, etc. As far as a cow or a heifer, a bull or a heifer, he says, then that is for 7 households. And then the Shaykh rahimahullah, he says, in the camel, male or female, is for 10 households or 10 families. 10 households or 10 families. And the proof has established this. He says, rahimahullah, and the Prophet ﷺ, he used to slaughter for all of his family members one shah, one sheep. And the smallest or the least is the sheep, then cow, then the camel, then the camel. Khairan, inshallah ta'ala. So we have from Instagram before we move forward, reading more of these fatwa. Questions, dates. And wa alaikum salam wa rahmatullah. Greetings, peace and blessings to everybody. Happy Eid, Merry Eid to everybody. Barakallahu feekum. May Allah bless you all. Keep you safe. You stay strong as well. Jazakallahu khairan. Some questions from Instagram. Warf Dean from Philly, PA. Is it obligatory to do qurbani and who should we give? Hopefully that's been answered. As far as who do you give the qurbani or the udhiyah to, then you should eat from it yourself, you and your family, your children. And you should give some as charity to poor and needy. And you should give some as a gift for those who aren't necessarily poor and needy. I give you a gift. And it has to be sadaqa, but it's what? Hadiyah. The Prophet ﷺ used to take hadiyah, but he didn't take charity. And of course, sometimes it's a fine line, envelope slid to a judge. He says it's not a bribe, Your Honor. It's what? It's for you and your children. Buy your wife something nice, get her some, that jewelry, that ring she's been waiting for, that trip, that first class trip to the Caribbean, to Guyana, all of those years. It's not a what? It's not a bribe though, Your Honor. Just, a token of our friendship. So of course, oftentimes linguistics play a role, but you guys get the point, right? So you should give some as charity to the poor and the needy, give some as a gift, and you yourself should eat from it. And if a person wants to help people out, poor people, starving people, unfortunately, Muslims and non-Muslims, then alhamdulillah, you can buy an animal overseas for cheap. Do the udhiyah yourself in America. Eat from it yourself. And if you say there are people who are less fortunate than me, people who don't have, you can still send $200 overseas and still do it. Don't forget and neglect the sunnah what? In your own locale, and eat from the meat yourself, as Allah clearly says in the Quran. Very important, And Allah knows best. Tayyip. All right, moving forward, Khalid. Or you have something? No, here's another question coming from Philadelphia, Pennsylvania. Initials SN. Would it be haram to fast while attending the Eid if you know it's the 9th of Dhul Hijjah based on the moon phase? If you go to the Eid, you are not to fast. Do not fast. It is prohibited to fast during the days of the Eid. If you do not believe that it is the proper day, do not do it. Don't go. If you feel that it is improper. As far as if you're unsure, I don't know, different story. Don't fast and attend the Eid. But if you feel that this is a mistake and it's wrong, don't go. Do not partake in that. Wallahu alam. طيب. Next question states رجل رأى ثعبانا فأراد قتله لكن الثعبان التوى على يده حتى كاد طيب معلش. All right, interesting. خيرا. Question states رجل رأى ثعبانا فأراد قتله لكن الثعبان التوى على يده حتى كاد يكسرها فنظر لأن خلصه الله من هذا الثعبان ليذبحن كبشا فأراد تأخير النذر إلى يوم العيد فهل يكون نذرا أو أضحية نذرا وأضحية ليس أو و. The question says there was a man who saw a snake and he wanted to kill the snake, but the snake jumped on him and it wrapped itself, it coiled itself around his arm and it began to constrict tighter and tighter until it almost broke his arm. And he made a dua. He made a promise to Allah. If Allah protected him from his arm being injured from this snake, he would slaughter for Allah's sake. He would offer a sheep for Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. So afterwards, Allah saved him, etc. He wanted to delay his nadhr, fulfilling the vow, until the day of the Eid. So on the day of the Eid, the animal that he's going to slaughter, that sheep or that goat, will it be his nadhr or will that be qurbani? Keep it real, Ak. No one is saying udhiyah, South Ozone Park. Idris, right? Qurbani, right? Which one will it be? Very interesting question, Answer says, لا يكون إلا وفاء بالنذر أو أضحية بحسب النية أي لا تكون الذبيحة الواحدة للنذر وللأضحية معا بل إن والنذر كان للنذر والنوى الذبيحة للأضحية كانت أضحية. Answer says it cannot be a fulfillment of the vow and qurbani at the same time. It cannot be udhiyah and the wafa at the same time. It cannot be. Rather, he must prioritize his intentions. Either you're going to do it on the day of the Eid, I'm fulfilling the vow, Allah saved me from the snake, or it's going to be udhiyah and he still has to fulfill the vow. He can't mix the niyas here, rather, one of the two. Next question says, متى تذبح الأضحية ومتى يبدأ وقتها ومتى آخر وقت ذبح الأضحية? When should the udhiyah be offered? When does it begin and when does it end? الجواب يبدأ وقت الأضحية من صباح يوم العيد ولكن بشرط أن تكون بعد صلاة العيد. ولكن اختلفت أنظار العلماء هل المراد بالصلاة صلاة المضحي نفسه أم صلاة الإمام؟ فالإمام مالك جعل الألف واللام للعهد وهي الصلاة المعهودة في صباح يوم العيد وهي الصلاة الكبرى التي تؤدي في الجبانة التي يصلي فيها رئيس الدولة. ومذهب الجمهور أن المراد بالصلاة صلاة المضحي نفسه وآخر وقت ذبح الأضحية هو غروب يوم الرابع العيد أي آخر أيام التشريق. The answer says the earliest one can offer the udhiyah is the morning of the Eid, the morning of the day of the Eid. But it has to be after the Eid prayer. But there's a fork in the road with regards to what is meant by the Eid prayer. Some scholars say what's meant by Salat al-Eid is the Eid prayer of the Imam, of the leader, the Sultan, the leader of the Muslims, the Caliph, the leader, the Hakim, the ruler. And others, they say, rather what's meant by Salat al-Eid is the Eid prayer that you pray. And there's a difference now. If you live in a country in which there's Islamic rule, whatever the case may be, the Imam prays an hour away from your home. You're not going that far. It's difficult. And their prayers at 8:45. You're praying at your local masjid that's going to pray at 7:30. Based off of that view, you cannot offer your udhiyah, your qurbani, until after 9 o'clock, mathalan. And if you offer before the Imam's prayer, then they say your udhiyah, no good. And the majority of the ulama, the other fuqaha, besides Imam Malik, as mentioned here, they say that what's meant by the Eid prayer is your Eid prayer. So even though the Imam, the leader is praying at 8:45, I'm praying at 7:30 in my local Eid area, I can slaughter right afterwards. Right afterwards. And of course, the application of this is going to be difficult in 2021. Living in the United States or the UK, is there a Muslim ruler, a Muslim leader? And being frank and being honest, the whole concept of an Islamic state, when the Muslims hear the word, they get the EBGBs. They can become scared and terrified. Regardless, is this actually one? Are these people right? That's not the argument. But just the thought of it, they automatically what? A'udhu billah. And the concept is extremely dangerous now. It is extremely important. The concept of who's right, who's wrong, that's not on the table. But the concept of, do you believe that the Sharia is supposed to be implemented? Do you believe that it's mandatory and obligatory for Allah's rules to be enforced and implemented on the earth? Do you believe that? So the concept of how you look at things and how your stomach feels, oh no, it can't be, it's not, is extremely problematic with regards to one's iman and disbelief in taghut. فَمَنْ يَكْفُرْ بِالطَّاغُوتِ. The Prophet ﷺ says, مَنْ كَفَرَ بِمَا يُعْبَدُ مِنْ دُونِ اللَّهِ. To reject and deny what is worshipped besides Allah is mandatory. There's no tawheed without kufr bil-taghut. So the concept of being pleased with living in a state in which the Muslims are today is very problematic. May Allah help us all. But the situation is what the situation is. Many Muslims that live, there's no Islamic rule, no Islamic ruler, etc. So when do you offer your Eid prayer? What is the extent of Islamic or Muslim unity in Queens, New York? How many masjids are in this local area, Khalid? When's the last time you seen the leaders of the masjids in one place, Idris? Not speaking together, eating together, just in one place. Basic regard. Assalamu alaikum. What effect and impact would it have upon the people? Whether you call it a propaganda, media, just imagine this imam is just in one place, giving salams to each other, showing basic respect to each other. So the situation is what the situation is. So it's not going to be so applicable here with regards to us. So most of the ulama, he says, they hold the view is that the udhiyah can be offered after one makes the Eid prayer, and it's not a standard or a mandatory condition for the imam's prayer. The next question states, هل يشترط أن يكون ذبح الأضحية عقيب صلاة العيد? Oh, and he also mentioned, as far as the last or the end, the last time in which you can offer the Eid or the udhiyah is before Maghrib on the 4th day of the Eid. So you have from Asr to Maghrib, 5 p.m. to 8:30, 3.5 hours to offer your qurbani on the 4th day of the Eid. The 10th day of Dhul Hijjah, Yawm al-Nahar, is the day of the Eid. The 11th, 12th, and 13th are all, they're called days of Tashriq. Those are all days of Dhabh and days of Eid. So you mentioned in his fatwa, 4 days of Eid, 4 days in which it's valid for you to slaughter. After the 4th day, Salat al-Maghrib, is any type of slaughter, it is not qurbani. Right, moving forward. You have anything, Khalid, or not? It's time for the adhan, Idris?
Of course.
You make the adhan, please? Yeah, please. Mahmoud G. What's going on, Akhi? Alhamdulillah, you made it back safely?
Allahu Akbar, Allahu Akbar.
Allahu Akbar, Allahu Akbar.
Allahu Akbar, Allahu Akbar.
Allahu Akbar, Allahu Akbar.
أشهد أن لا إله إلا الله. أشهد أن لا إله إلا الله.
Shake.
أشهد أن
Please, could you give me 2 from the store? Double A, please.
أشهد أن محمدا رسول الله. حي على الصلاة.
لا حول ولا قوة إلا بالله.
حي على الصلاة. حي على الفلاح. حي على الفلاح.
لا حول ولا قوة إلا بالله.
الله أكبر الله أكبر. لا إله إلا الله.
لا إله إلا الله اللهم رب ذي الدعوة التامة والصلاة القائمة. تفضل.
Initials AN from UK, Birmingham. Are skin fades permissible?
A skin fade. I would advise you not to get a skin fade. Stay away from it, inshallah. Perhaps a skin fade is far worse off than a normal tapering, which is not totally skin. It's best to avoid. Is it haram? That's a different story. Wallahu a'lam. Idris.
For the birth of a child, girl or boy, is the shaving of the head mandatory, and is it part of like a sacrifice? That's why we shave the head?
The head should be shaved for the baby boy for sure. Should it be shaved for a baby girl? It's definitely best. Scholars have 2 views with regards to shaving the baby girl's head. Is it included in al-ghulam? The hadith says, ghulam, the wording of the hadith is ghulam, which is a male child, a boy. But we know that there's a general rule, is that when a male is mentioned, women are included in that, unless it's something specific to state otherwise. So the child's head, boy or girl, should be shaven. And it's a whole process, the shaving of the head, the selecting of a fine name, and the offering of an animal, at least one animal for a boy or for a girl. At least one, should be two for a boy. And if you want to do more for a girl, then you can do more for a girl as well. All of that is to be done, along with making dua for the baby, praying for the baby. Okay? These are all parts of the rites of passage for the child. Wallahu ta'ala alam, as is mentioned in the authentic hadith. Wallahu alam. Wa iyyakum.
Initials MD from Jaipur, India. If my cousin asked me to drop her to the hospital on my bike, am I then allowed to help her? She is not my mahram.
Taking your cousin to the hospital on your bike. She is not your mahram and you're allowed to help her. If it's an issue with her being on the back of your bike, touching you, or whatever the case may be, then get her a cab, get her a car, get her a safe ride, inshallah. All right? And if being in a cab is just as dangerous or just as harmful, or whatever the case may be, then you're stuck between a rock and a hard place. And it's better for your cousin to be on the back of your motorcycle, and if it's a traffic jam or fear of an accident, she grabs you or something, whatever the case may be, that's better than her being in a situation which is more dangerous, such as with somebody that may try to do something to her or whatever the case may be. She's not your mahram, you're not her mahram, she's still your family, and you have to weigh the situation. Her being on the back of your bike is a mafsada. Her being with this person, etc., a super crowded bus, a man groping her or something like this happens oftentimes in these countries, that's a bigger mafsada. So you have to weigh between the two. And Allah surely knows best. Wa salaam to Allah.
Initials KT from
Jazakallah
Georgetown,
khair.
Guyana.
Barakallah fi.
Assalamu alaikum. How do I raise my khushu in salah? Can you give some simple approaches to this?
Allahu Akbar. Question coming from the motherland, huh? GT, Guyana. May Allah bless His inhabitants. Ameen. How to increase your khushu in the salah? I would advise you to have a good understanding of Juz Amma, of Fatiha and Juz Amma. Read the simple, basic, simplified tafsir of the surahs that are often repeated. Alam nashrah laka sadrak wa wada'na anka wizrak. What is that verse? What is that ayah? What is that surah about? Who's Allah talking to? Who's Allah talking about? Why was it sent down? What's meant by have we not expanded your chest? Have we not split your chest open? So read what that means. And even if you don't know the Arabic words, the Arabic terms, at least you know, oh, that's surah Inshirah. And then the Prophet's heart was split open. Allah did this for the Prophet was sad, etc., etc., etc. You can think about the surah as it's being recited to you. And if you can learn some terms and some words and some of the basic Arabic, then that's what? Even better. Piece of advice number 3 is try your best to minimize small talk and idle conversation before the salah. If salah comes in at 5, the jama'ah is at 5:15, 5:30, at 5 p.m., don't talk about nothing but Quran. Don't have no sidebar conversations about politics, soccer, football, nothing. Just talk about, or don't even talk, read the Quran. Minimize the idle talk before the salah. It helps with khushu'. Last but not least is to understand the nature of the salah. Allahu Akbar. Allah is greater. Allah is bigger than my money, than my wife, my children, than my cat, than my fruit stand, than my boat, than my farm, than my factory, than my business, my law office. Allah is bigger and greater. Allah is more important. Salah is more important. And me pausing the dunya for 5 minutes isn't going to harm anybody. Allah is bigger and greater than my baby crying. Allah is bigger and greater than my family. So just think about why you say Allahu Akbar. These are things that inshallah help you with khushu'. Wallahu alam. Fadal.
Initials initials IA from Springfield, Virginia. I forgot and I got a haircut. Can I still do hair?
Yes, nothing wrong with it. If you got a haircut and you forgot, still do the udhiyah, inshallah.
Initials OS from Aman, Jordan. If the father has already paid for the udhiyah on the behalf of the entire family, should the son still offer as well if able?
Yeah, you should offer the udhiyah even if the father has already paid for it as extra charity, extra sadaqah, extra rewards, implementing the sunnah, but be mindful of slighting your father. Your father may take offense to it, or he may feel like that you're, undercutting him. I already took care of it, son. Why are you? Yeah, okay, be careful. So that's all. That's what I would say. Wallahu alam.
Next question.
Fadal.
Initials CL from no city. Initials OS from a man Jordan again. I joined the salah when the imam was in sajda, so I have the opening takbir. Then, as I was giving the second takbir, the imam was coming out of sajda. Is this correct?
Not too clear on the question. You make the first takbir and you go into the sajda. If you go in and the imam is coming up into jilsa, then you just sit down into jilsa, even though you made your niyyah for the sajda, if that's what the questioner is asking about. Question says, TH from London, UK. The fatwa I saw was follow your own country's moon sighting, but didn't the Prophet ﷺ stop fast when the news came from some travelers seeing the moon? That's a long discussion. Either you follow your local sighting or you go with the international sighting. Both proofs, or both sides have proofs and evidences. MG from Atlanta, Georgia. When should one cut the hair and nails after the Eid prayer when the animal is being slaughtered by a third party? That won't give a direct alert when the animal is being slaughtered. If you have a third person slaughtering an animal, just wait. Be patient. Whether you're there, whether you can see it, or whether it's long distance, have them tell you for sure that it's been done before you cut your hair and your nails, etc. Wallahu alam. Fadl Khalid. Drink with the right hand. Shake. Jazakallah khairan. Thank you very much for the nasiha. Next question.
Initials HK from Queens, New York.
So what do I do in this? What's the fiqh ruling on this now? So if say drink with the right hand on the camera, that will now force me to do what? Drink with the left hand. So what do I do? Use the left to please the viewer? Or, drink with the mouth, no hands. Allahu Akbar. Sorry, this is going to be our last question. I believe it's the iqama, unless they need more time. Mahmoud G said the cranberries came in clutch. Sheikh, alhamdulillah, alhamdulillah. I knew that. I knew that you would need a good, healthy, powerful, energetic snack for your plane ride. What could be better than organic cranberries? Alhamdulillah. Fadal.
Initial CL from Fort Wayne, Indiana. Having a child left me with bodily changes that affects my mental health. Is it okay to do surgery with the intention of looking good for a future husband?
Tayyib. Question is from Indiana, you said? Fort Worth? Fort Wayne. Getting certain surgeries to fix your body or repair your body after you've given birth for your mental health, etc. It depends what you mean by surgeries. You have major blemishes which are abnormal, unsightly, or you just have the normal wear and tear that bodies go through, men and women. Men have wear and tear on them, so do women. Okay? So if you have a child, you breastfeed the child, and it leaves you with a lack of confidence about your body or some extra weight or whatever the case may be, it depends on what you mean. Something that's going to be permanent alteration to your body, that's no. Something that's removing something which is unsightly is a different story. And you have to have sabr. Allah tests you with that. That's a test. Bearing a baby, delivering the baby, feeding the baby, that's a test. Men, they have different issues and problems with their bodies that happens. It's a test. So there's nothing wrong with taking medicine, and there's nothing wrong with having surgery to prevent some type of harm or remove something that's clearly harmful. But that's not the same as you trying to look like something that you're no longer. You're trying to be like something that you're no longer. So we have to be careful. That's what I would say. And ask Allah to give you mental health, to sustain your mental health. You can get 1,000 surgeries, doesn't mean you're going to have good mental health. Rather, most people, when they get those types of surgeries, those cosmetic surgeries, baby makeover, what they call them? You know what it's called? Baby makeover? No, it's a word they use. The new modern age people, they call it what? Baby makeover or something. Baby mama makeover, something like that. It's a term they use. Oftentimes they have those different surgeries, they get things taken, removed, added, and they still have depression. They still don't feel confident, etc., etc. Wallahu alam. Last question. It's a word, it's a term they have for it, I'm telling you.
Initials I.
It's not just called
Mine,
surgery.
Florida. What are the rulings for a traveler with the Eid?
Traveler with Eid?
What's the ruling on Eid for travel?
If you're there in a country in which the Eid is established, pray, inshallah. If it's far from you, that's a different story. But if you have the ability to go to the Eid, go to the Eid. Or as the Prophet ﷺ told everyone to go, women who are on their menstruation were commanded to go. They have a clear excuse not to go. So you shouldn't avoid the Eid if you can. And if you're in a different country, you never know what you might find or come across by going to the Eid. You never know what connection you may make, a networking, you may get married. Where you from, brother? I'm from such and such. Oh, really? MashaAllah, come over my house. You're a guest. Next thing you know, somebody, a young beautiful sister, she brings a bowl of salad to the table with her gaze down. She walks away humbly. He says, this is my daughter. I'm looking to marry her off. You never know what khair Allah will throw your way. That's the point I'm trying. That's serious. You never know. Wallahu alam. هذا وصلى الله وسلم وبارك على عبده ورسوله نبينا وإمامنا محمد.